All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're going to unpack some absolutely fascinating research into longevity, specifically by uncovering the Japanese secret of Ikigai. Have you ever wondered why some people wake up every single morning with boundless energy and a crystal clear sense of purpose, and then go on to live well past 100 years old, while others just kind of languish? Well, as you'll see, the answers actually lie in a very specific, unique blend of physical habits and mental frameworks that literally anyone can adopt, no matter where you live.
Check out this number right here, 24.55. That's the number of centenarians, people who live to be over 100 years old per 100,000 inhabitants in Okinawa, Japan. To put that into perspective, this ratio absolutely crushes the global average. But here's the really important part. The people on Okinawa aren't just living longer, they're living much, much better. They suffer from fewer chronic illnesses, maintain incredibly high levels of vitality, and experience significantly lower rates of dementia.
Now, to see the extreme potential of human longevity in action, we have to look at Jean Calment, 122. That was the age of this French woman who holds the record as the oldest verified person in history. And what's just mind-blowing is that she wasn't just sitting around existing, she remarkably rode a bicycle until she was 100 years old, and even lived on her own until she was 110. It really proves that with the right combination of lifestyle and mindset, the human body and spirit are capable of some truly extraordinary endurance. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to visit the village of longevity, define exactly what Ikigai is, learn how to practically find your purpose, uncover the magic of flow, and finally, outline the key steps for healthy aging. Starting off with Section 1, the village of longevity, discovering the blue zones and Okinawa. When researchers started studying the blue zone of Okinawa, specifically a lush green town called Ogimi that's literally nicknamed the Village of Longevity, they realized a massive secret. The locals never live in isolation. From a super early age, they form what's called a Moai. Now, originally, these groups were formed to help farmers cope with bad harvests, but today, it's a tight group of friends who pool their resources, get together regularly for games and dinners, and provide this incredible financial and emotional safety net for one another. It just goes to show that deep, secure community connection is a fundamental pillar for a long, low-stress life. You're never truly alone when you have a Moai. Let's move right into Section 2. What is Ikigai? Your reason for getting out of bed. So the community support of a Moai actually builds into the central philosophy of this entire explainer, which is Ikigai. This is the mental framework that gives Okinawans their legendary vitality. Interestingly, in traditional Japanese culture, there isn't really a word for retirement in the way we use it in the West. Leaving the workforce forever to just hit the golf course and relax. Instead, rather than seeking retirement, the Japanese focus on their Ikigai, meaning they remain active and purposefully engaged until the very end. Your Ikigai is simply the reason you get up in the morning. It's that existential fuel that gives your life true meaning and satisfaction. To find your Ikigai, in simple terms, you really just need to look for the intersection of these four essential elements in your daily life. First, what do you genuinely love doing? Second, what are you naturally good at? Third, what does the world actually need from you right now? And finally, what can you be paid for to sustain yourself? When you find an activity or a mission that ticks all four of these boxes, bam, you have found your Ikigai. It's your passion, your mission, your vocation, and your profession all rolled into one beautiful, harmonious purpose. Moving on to Section 3, How to Find Purpose, Psychological Approaches to Meaning. Now, you might be thinking, well, what if I'm feeling totally stuck? What if I don't know what I love or what the world needs? That's where Viktor Frankl's logotherapy comes in. Instead of analyzing past trauma the way traditional psychoanalysis does, logotherapy actively pushes you to find a reason to live in the future. It operates on the idea that we humans don't actually need a perfectly peaceful, tensionless existence. We need a meaningful challenge. We need a destiny to fulfill. Finding that meaning is quite literally the ultimate cure for the existential emptiness so many of us feel today. Similarly, Japan's Morita therapy offers a fantastic, highly practical approach to finding purpose. Instead of trying to fight or control your negative emotions, Morita therapy guides you to just accept them, almost like you're observing the weather. You move through 4 specific steps, starting with pure isolation and rest to let your mind settle, then gently introducing light tasks like journaling, moving on to heavy physical tasks like chopping wood, and finally, returning to society. The huge takeaway here is that purpose is reintroduced through action, not through sitting around and overthinking. Section 4, the magic of flow, turning tasks into spaces for growth. Okay, so once you find your purpose, you need to execute it daily. And that brings us to the psychological state of flow. This is how you take a totally regular Tuesday afternoon and turn it into an incredibly rewarding experience. Whether you're Jiro, the master sushi chef who's been perfecting his craft for over 80 years, or an engineer trying to solve a really complex bug at work, achieving flow requires focusing entirely on the present moment. In flow, there's no past or future. Your ego completely dissolves. Time either flies by in a flash or slows down to a crawl. Tapping into this optimal experience is a massive component of living out your Ikigai.
But here is a major warning sign. A huge Stanford study shows a strict requirement for flow. You must stop multitasking and concentrate on a single, clear objective. We so often fool ourselves into thinking we're being highly productive by juggling emails, texts, and projects all at the exact same time. But in reality, multitasking actively trains your brain to be distracted, decreases your productivity by a staggering 60%, and makes flow literally impossible. If you want to tap into your Ikigai, you have to ruthlessly protect your focus.
We can actually learn a lot about this from the takumi, Japan's master artisans. For example, there are individuals who spend their entire day doing absolutely nothing but carefully selecting individual bristles for makeup brushes, achieving a deep, joyous flow state while they do it. Even the legendary animator Hayao Miyazaki protects his creative time so fiercely that he's known to spend national holidays completely alone in his studio, just drawing by hand. They find real magic in sophisticated simplicity and an absolute dedication to their craft.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, Healthy Aging Key Steps, the Physical Habits of Centenarians. Because, let's face it, a strong mind needs a healthy vessel to carry it through a century of life. Let's look at their physical habits. To support a long life, Okinawans practice a brilliant simple phrase, Hara Hachi Bu. Basically, they stop eating when they feel their stomachs reach about 80% capacity. They simply don't gorge themselves until they're completely full. By skipping that extra side dish or the heavy dessert, they prevent long, exhausting digestive processes that actually accelerate cellular oxidation. It's this profound, everyday discipline of eating for nourishment rather than just for immediate short-term pleasure.
And when you compare Okinawan diets to typical American diets, the differences are just striking. Okinawans consume hundreds of calories less per day, which helps them maintain a much leaner body mass index. And a cool trick they use, serving meals on multiple small plates, which actually tricks the brain into feeling totally satisfied with less food. Plus, their diet is heavily plant-based. Lots of tofu, sweet potatoes, and vegetables. They eat fish just a few times a week, and they completely avoid the heavy processed foods that are so common here in the West.
So if we distill all the physical secrets of the Blue Zones into a practical checklist, here are the healthy aging key steps to follow. Eat a diet rich in vegetables and antioxidants, like their local citrus fruit, shikuwasa. Drink plenty of green tea. Make sure you get a solid 7 to 9 hours of sleep so your body can naturally produce melatonin, which is a powerful anti-aging hormone. Rather than completely exhausting themselves at the gym, they engage in constant, low-intensity movement like walking or gardening. And lastly, they celebrate life every single day with their community. By combining these habits, Okinawans dramatically reduce chronic illnesses.
Now, you might be thinking the absolute secret to a long life is zero stress, right? Well, actually, scratch that. That's a total myth. While severe chronic stress definitely ages you by damaging your cells, a small manageable dose of stress is actually a really positive thing. Studies show that facing challenges with a stoic, positive attitude actively promotes longevity. Having a purpose, your Ikigai, provides this healthy level of tension and challenge that keeps your mind sharp and your body fully engaged.
A huge part of managing that stress is just your general outlook on life. This quote from Gene Calment, the 122-year-old we mentioned earlier, perfectly captures the optimistic, humorous attitude you really need to weather a century of life's ups and downs. The longest living people don't magically avoid hardship or physical decline, they just outright refuse to let it break their spirit. They maintain high emotional awareness, and honestly, they just laugh in the face of adversity.
The centenarians of Ogimi even went so far as to carve a declaration into stone at the edge of their village. It reminds us all that age is literally just a number. The older, the stronger. They firmly believe that if you just stay busy doing the things you love, surrounded by a supportive community, and connected to nature, you are going to thrive. They never really retire. They just keep pursuing their Ikigai day after day, year after year.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to take a second and reflect on everything we've covered today. Think about the incredible power of your community Moai, the 80% eating rule, and the absolute necessity of finding flow in your daily tasks. So ask yourself right now, what is your reason for getting up tomorrow?
Find your Ikigai, embrace it fully, and who knows, you just might find yourself celebrating a very happy 100th birthday.